right, guys. With that down, let's now move into, well, the winners of the Oscars. Ashley, what's the next topic today?
All right. Next one is from Darren Timms. Hey, John, just finished watching the Oscars and I thought it was a really good show and I'm pretty happy with all the winners. What did you think of the winners? Any surprises? Any disappointments?
All right, so let's take a second here and just run down really quickly who did win, and then we'll go into what we thought about surprises. We'll go into what we thought about, who should have, who could have, all that kind of stuff. So just quickly, makeup and hairstyling and absolute worst acceptance speech of the night was for Vice. Film editing went to Bohemian Rhapsody. I kind of thought Green Book or Black Klansman could have taken that, but the editing of Bohemian Rhapsody I thought was great. Visual effects, we'll talk about this in a second, went to First Man, beating out Avengers Infinity War, Ready Player One, Solo: A Star Wars Story, and Christopher Robin. Original score, very deservingly, goes to Ludwig Göransson for Black Panther. Everybody talks about the music in Black Panther, and what they instantly talk about is, oh, Kendrick Lamar. But Kendrick Lamar did the songs? The score of Black Panther was insanely great. I love the score in that movie.
I agree.
So Ludwig, who, by the way, as we found out in the Oscars last night, was Ryan Coogler's roommate at USC, which I thought was really fun. Live action short film went to Skin. Animated short film went to Bao, which is one of the only ones I saw. I did love Bao. Sound mixing went to Bohemian Rhapsody and sound editing. Something I thought Black Panther could have snuck out those two Oscars as well. But yeah, no arguments for me about that. Costume design went to Black Panther. Cinematography, no big surprise, went to Roma, although I thought Cold War had a chance at that. Best production design, Black Panther. And then we get into these things. Then Best original screenplay went to Green Book. Best adapted screenplay went to Black Klansman. Now, and then Best Song, of course, went to Shallow, which wasn't really a big surprise. The documentary Best Feature, which should have gone to Won't You Be My Neighbor, which wasn't even nominated, went to another deserving winner, Free Solo. Documentary short was Period, End of Sentence, one of the best acceptance speeches of the night as well. No surprise, Best Foreign Language Film went to Roma. And then we get into some of these categories. So, Best Supporting Actor went to Mahershala Ali. I thought this was one that maybe could have gone to Sam Elliott. I also thought maybe it could have gone to Adam Driver. No, but Mahershala Ali's won a lot of the Best Supporting Actors awards at the various awards ceremonies this year, so no big surprise there. Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role. This one was the biggest lock of the night to me. Regina King was going to win this award, deservedly so. Very happy for her. And of course, one of the best moments of the night as Chris Evans walked her up onto stage that everybody screamed and swooned over. Performance by an actress in a leading role. Look, I told everybody last week, I don't care how many of the other awards Glenn Close won. I told you Glenn Close was a long shot at best at winning the actual Oscar. And Olivia Colman won. And in my opinion, best acceptance speech of the night. I loved her acceptance speech. It was the kind of speech that reminded me about why acceptance speeches can be really fun. Best Actor, not a big surprise to a lot of people. Rami Malek won for Bohemian Rhapsody. I kind of thought maybe Viggo Mortensen may take it, but it goes to Rami Malek. He did an amazing job in that film. Best Animated Feature Film of the Year, and this is why this is important. It goes to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which contributes to a record at this year's Oscars. Comic book movies took home 4 Academy Awards this year, more than any other year. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Best Director, I really thought this one should have gone to Spike Lee. However, no surprise, it went to Alfonso Cuarón, which is, he did a great job directing the film. I don't like the film all that much, but it's just gorgeous. And then, of course, Best Picture, my number 2 pick out of this list. My number 1 pick to win out of this list of nominees would have been Black Klansman. But my number 2 pick to win out of this list was Green Book. I think it's a masterpiece of a movie. I love this film, and Green Book actually ended up winning Best Picture. Now, before we get into all of our surprises and everything, there's been some backlash over the notion of Green Book winning, which to me is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. This movie is fabulous. Now, would I have given it to Black Klansman? Yes. Black Klansman, out of all the films that were nominated, it was my number 1 pick to win Best Picture, because I didn't even like Roma. But I thought Roma was going to win, but my pick to win was going to be Black Klansman, but only second, and only closely second to it, was Green Book. It is a brilliant film. And now all these people coming out and acting like this is big, some huge shock and surprise. It's like, where have you been? This award season has seen honor after honor after honor by, it's not just the Academy, by tons of award bodies, heaping tons of awards on this film, a lot in the acting categories, some in the directing categories, all that kind of stuff. But no less than this, at some of the major awards this year, Green Book won Best Picture at the National Board of Review. And Robert, I remember you and I were doing that show after it won the National Board of Review. And I said, guys, this is one, National Board of Review is a serious one. And you have got to consider that Green Book may be one of the front runners here to win Best Picture, because winning National Board of Review is no joke. It also won the Producers Guild, the PGA Awards, which is another big indicator quite often going into the Academy Awards. So it won the National Board of Review Best Picture. It won the Producers Guild Best Picture. Probably the most important film festival in the world is the Toronto International Film Festival. It won the top prize of the Toronto International Film Festival. It was one of the top prize winners of the AFI, of the American Film Institute. It won Best Picture at the Golden Globes. Not that I care about the Golden Globes, but a bunch of you guys do. But it won Best Picture at the Golden Globes. And then it just wrapped up its year by winning Best Picture at the Academy Awards. So, if Green Book wasn't your pick to win, and it wasn't mine, Black Klansman was, but if Green Book wasn't your pick to win, all this nonsense about, the Academy is this and the Academy is that, then everybody is. Because it was winning these awards across the board from everybody. And even in the ones that didn't win, it was at least nominated and considered a front runner for. So I don't know why everybody's acting so surprised. This entire award season. Now, again, I was almost positive that Roma was going to win Best Picture. I was almost positive that thing was going to win Best Picture. But I don't know why any of us will act so surprised. This is a narrative that has been unfolding the entire award season. So it ultimately winning, to me, is no shock. And I think this is, while not my first pick to win, a very deserving winner. I think this film is magnificent. And Mahershala Ali crushed it. Of course, he wins Best Supporting Actor. Viggo Mortensen nominated for Best Actor. But interesting to note here, guys, Green Book now only becomes the 5th film in the 91-year history of the Academy Awards to win Best Picture when its director was not nominated for Best Director. Only the 5th time it has ever happened. And part of the reason why I was a little bit surprised, because I thought, wow, like it won without getting the Best Director nomination. Only the 5th time it's happened, which is incredible to me. Rob, let's go over to you here. You look at this huge list, all these things, including Best Picture and whatever. Were there any big surprises to you or things that you thought were really an oversight or whatever? How did you see it?
No, I didn't think that there were any upsets like you. I mean, Green Book was a favorite to win. To me, it was a two film race. It was either Roma or Green Book. And I knew when Roma won Best Foreign Film, I'm like, Roma's not going to win Best Picture. I was thinking that the whole time. What I think was really interesting, there's some really interesting stats. There have been, it has been 30 years since any Black woman that was not an actress has won an Academy Award for technical categories, for other categories. And we had 2 Black women within 5 minutes win for costume design and production design for Black Panther. So that, I think that's, that sends, for anybody who's an aspiring, wants to work in Hollywood in any capacity, I think that's a great indicator of where our industry is going in terms of, sure, there needs to be more inclusion, but it's really, the film business now is much more accepting of all peoples to work in all levels now than it ever has been, which is great. I was kind of bummed out Infinity War, to be honest, didn't win Best Visual Effects. I mean, First Man was totally deserving, but First Man won based on its final sequence, the landing on the moon and also conveying space flight in a very, it won because it was able to create my favorite word, verisimilitude, realism, where Thanos, I think a lot of people now take motion capture characters for granted. They think, they've been doing that since Lord of the Rings. But I thought it was pretty astonishing. But everybody else, I thought was really, really deserving. There was no my only thing that I really wanted to see happen that didn't was Richard E. Grant is one of my favorite actors.
Right. Yeah.
He has never been given. He's one of our and nobody was having. He won the Spirit Award on Saturday for Best Supporting Actor. He beat Mahershala Ali, and I wanted to see him win because I just love that guy. And watching him here on the festival circuit, I've never seen anybody who's had more fun and has had a. Did you see, like, he told a story about how he wrote a letter to Barbara Streisand when he lived in Swaziland, or when when he was growing up, when he was 14, and when she took the stage, they like cut to his face, and he was like beaming because he's such a Barbara Streisand fan. I wish he just ran up there and hugged her or something, but he wouldn't have done that because he's got too much class. But that was my only regret of the night. It was a great night for the awards. I really think it was terrific.
You know, with the First Man thing, here's the interesting thing. First Man, I was talking about this last night too, is that I mentioned a buddy of mine who is a production designer in Hollywood here. He was here last night, and just earlier this week, he was at the big production designers dinner, and where they had a panel of all the nominated production designers. And, you know, this is the thing about First Man. And I remember on our show a number of weeks ago, I said, look, probably my top two picks for visual effects are Ready Player One and Infinity War. But do not sleep on First Man, because there are so many visual effects on there that you will never even know you're looking at visual effects.
Right.
And my buddy who was at that dinner, they were talking about the production design, and he says the designers are saying, I've never worked on a movie where I had to work so hand in hand with the visual effects people, because there were so many shots in this movie that were visual effects heavy, working in cooperation with the production design and everything. And the thing is, you go to watch that movie, you will, until they go into space, you'll never even guess that you're looking at visual effects. It's like First Man is an example of visual effects, honestly, used to perfection. Because when you don't even know they're there. So I still probably would have given the nudge to Infinity War or Ready Player One, just because of the bombastic nature of the visual effects and all those, the big highlight reel stuff like a Thanos and things like that. But I got no qualms about First Man winning that. And that's kind of the overarching theme for me about the night. This was a night where I have no problems with any of the winners. Like, not all of my picks won, but at least the ones that did win, I can go, yeah, you can make a solid argument that one would win. You can make, I mean, I was surprised by First Man's win in visual effects, but still, the entire run, I had no issues with any of the winners, even if they weren't my picks. And it's been a long time, Robert, since I've had that at the Academy Awards, where it's like, okay, my guy didn't win, but the guy who did win was pretty damn deserving, you know? Yeah. So now let's talk about this for a second, Rob, here too. Black Panther takes home not one, not two, but 3 Academy Awards last night. And here's the greatest part about that to me. As somebody who didn't feel that Vice or Bohemian Rhapsody or Black Panther should have been nominated for Best Picture, all the awards that Black Panther won, it totally deserved. There's none of this.
Richly deserved.
There's none of this stupid, like even around Heath Ledger's win, there's still these stupid ass discussions about Heath Ledger wouldn't have won if he hadn't have died. Like there's all that nonsense still around it. But with the wins that Black Panther got, to me, no question, it deserved those wins. So not only did it win 3, it deserved all 3. And I'll tell you what, again, I thought they could have snuck out of there with 5, because I bet they came close to the sound editing and the sound mixing awards. They could have walked out of there with 5. And then on top of all that, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse takes home an award that shouldn't even exist, Best Animated Film, but Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should have been nominated for Best Picture. But whatever. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse wins Best Animated Film. A very rare year that Disney does not win for either its Pixar or its Disney animation branches. So Sony takes home the win on that. It gives us a record-setting year of 4 Academy Award wins last night for comic book films. Black Panther winning 3, which edges out The Dark Knight, which had only won 2. So there's that. And then you add the Spider-Man thing, 4 films. Now, that in a year when last year was the first year ever that a comic book movie, Logan, was actually nominated for the major prize of Best Screenplay. Now we get this year 4 Academy Award wins. Rob, the times, they are a-changin'.
And Stan Lee was
Times
smiling from heaven.
Oh, and
tell ya.
Stan Lee was smiling down at that. And even Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige's name was probably mentioned more than ever at any Oscar ceremony in history. But Rob, you see these results. Was this a fluke year, or is this a real sign when you compound last year to this? Is this a real sign that the times are changing with the acceptance of comic book movies and the maturation of comic book movies?
Oh, I think it's absolutely a sign. I mean, it's we have a generation of people now. We're 10 years. We're into the 11th year of the MCU. So, if you were 9 years old, if you were born, you're now 20, and if you were born 11 years ago, you're now 11. So we've got a whole generation of people that are growing up that don't have a prejudicial stance against comic book movies to be a valid form of entertainment. And I think that we're going to see more and more of these films winning as the years go by, which I think is great.
Ashley, let me ask you this. You watched the Academy Awards last night. Did you have any big things that were first of all, what were one or two highlights for you in that show? And did you have any big surprises at all?
Yeah, I mean, I loved Olivia Colman's speech.
Yeah.
I'm
So
really,
good.
really happy she won for that. It was so good. When she was like, "This is hilarious," like that's exactly how I would have felt. I would have been like, "What is happening?" But yeah, it was delightful. I actually was very surprised at visual effects. I did the Vanity Fair ballot, and I was looking over all my guesses, and I have to say, I got pretty much them all right, except for a couple. And visual effects, I did not guess right, but. I thought it was going to go to Avengers, but I also am agreeing with what you're saying that if you're not noticing them, then they're obviously doing a really great job. And I never got upset. I was never like, what? How is this winning? I was just like, oh, okay. That's interesting. I didn't expect that. There were no major upsets. I tweeted a month ago, I hope Green Book takes it, and it did. So I was happy about that. And I don't like now that I feel almost shame that I liked that film. I thought it was a fantastic film. And it's unfortunate with everything on the internet going around right now about like reverse driving Miss Daisy and, like that it's a white savior film and all of these things coming out. I was more shocked about that considering how many awards it's already won. And like you just showed us on the graphic. And I mean, it's a wonderful film about friendship and, it was a period piece and the dialogue was incredible. Script was amazing. The characters were incredible. It's an amazing film. I'm just so sad that now there's this like shadow over it, but I'm very happy with all of the winners this year, I have to say.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Overall, I got to say it was a winning year. It was a winning year for the Oscars overall. I haven't enjoyed an Oscar show this much in a couple of years. So kudos to them, and let's see where that leads us to.
There is
next year.
a couple of my friends were they thought it was a little drier with no host, I have to say. Like there and lack of some people said lack of continuity as well, just like that it felt a little bit all over the place. I came there to see the winners, like you guys were saying earlier. Like I just want to see like go up, say your speech. I want to know who wins, check off my box, continue. But I think other people that aren't, movie fanatics, they kind of want a little bit more of a variety show. So I think they want like the comedy that like one host can bring, or maybe, they enjoy the musical numbers. But I thought it was more streamlined this time around. But
yeah,
we'll
definitely
see.
a lot more pace and streamlined this year than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on now.